In a 24-hour span, we learned about a new Starship Troopers VR game coming to Meta Quest and PlayStation VR 2. We also learned that this game's developer, XR Games, is going through a mass layoff with over 70 employees being let go. The timing of this is curious to say the least, and if you're worried about the quality of the Starship Troopers game, I'm right there with you. I'm live open mic, let's talk about it. So Hitman 3 VR Reloaded released last month, and it was absolutely slammed. This for Quest only, by the way, not the version that's coming to PSVR 2. It was absolutely slammed by content creators, by reviewers. We're going to read some of the reviews in a minute. Basically, the game did really poorly. It only has like 405 ratings on the Quest store, which for a pretty big release, that's it's not good. And so soon after announcing that they're going to be making the Starship Troopers game, and that's actually being paid for by Sony under Sony Pictures Virtual Reality, that's SPVR, that's basically their VR department, it was announced that they're going through layoffs. This story is from Upload VR, written by Henry Stockdale. Founded in 2017, the lead space XR Games is best known for its work on last month's Hitman 3 VR Reloaded, Zombieland Headshot Fever, and the upcoming Zombie Army VR. Less than 24 hours after XR Games and Sony Pictures Virtual Reality reviewed Starship Troopers Continuum, multiple employees now face imminent redundancies. I don't know why I laughed there. While XR Games, their CEO Bobby Thandy have yet to release a public statement, multiple employees confirmed news that 72 people are being made redundant across various departments, including the entire IT team. Prior to the restructuring, the studio stated on its official website that it employs over 100 members of staff. So unless they have 144 members on staff, they're laying off over half their team, which is frightening. The layoffs follow a particularly rough launch for Hitman 3 VR Reloaded on Quest 3, which faced criticism in our own review for visual issues and flat screen derivative gameplay. XR Games later released a statement admitting the game has not met our own high expectations and sought to address this with a major Day 4 patch. There were several content creators, it's not in the story, this is me editorializing, there were several content creators who said they were going to review the game until that patch came out, and then results in the patch were hit and miss. Finishing the article, today's news follows last month's announcement that another UK-based VR developer, In Dreams, will undergo layoffs affecting 17.5% of staff right before the launch of two upcoming games, Vendetta Forever and Frenzies. At the time, CEO Patrick I don't know how to say his last name, the CEO informed the game developer that the layoffs could affect all levels, including senior leadership. This is Grace Merrick, she's an executive assistant at CEO. She's the executive assistant to the CEO at XR Games. Due to restructuring at XR Games, my role is at risk of redundancy. I am therefore looking for other executive assistant or similar roles, either in the game industries or not. If anyone has any recs or connections, please let me know. Thank you. Then here's another one for Sean Weber, the environmental artist. Hi everyone. Unfortunately, I've been informed that I am at risk of redundancy in my current role and will be actively seeking alternative opportunities. I never thought I'd be in this position anytime soon. However, I want to keep my head held high and be hopeful for the future. Here's an IT technician, Sean O'Toole. Hi everyone, due to a recent organization change at XR Games, I'm at risk of redundancy and officially open to new opportunities. As a young and dedicated network engineer with 3 years of experience in the game industry, I've successfully contributed to the IT overall growth and system infrastructure of XR Games during periods of rapid expansion. And then thanks to the team like most of these other posts have done. Here's another one from Matt Murray. By the way, this is how this news broke. Again, XR Games has not put out a statement at all. At least I checked about 5 minutes before we started recording this, so nothing from them. This is all coming from people on LinkedIn. Matt Murray, the head of marketing. Due to a large-scale restructuring at XR Games, I've been told my role is at risk for redundancy. And then same thing, I'm looking out for senior marketing roles in and out of gaming, opening the opportunities, so on and so forth. And then goes to experience. Matt Fitzgerald, the environmental artist. Same thing. This one I was informed that my role was included in the 72, which is at risk of redundancy. Tamara Wymark, sorry. Hi all, I've just been made aware that my role of QA project lead is being made redundant at XR Games, and I'm reading all these for a specific reason. Jemima Pym, this is another IT technician. Hi everyone, due to the latest round of redundancies, the IT team is being entirely let go. Therefore, I'm looking for a new role and would appreciate your support. And so on, and so on, and so on. There's tons of these on LinkedIn. The phrase redundancy is very important in this whole process, because redundancy happens when basically that's corporate speak for your job is no longer needed at this company. Generally, you see that when mergers are about to happen. So My conjecture is that they're about to be bought out by a larger company, similar to like Meta buying up all those studios. Sony owns a ton of studios, so does Microsoft. And normally when these acquisitions happen, you have a whole bunch of positions in these companies, like you know, your CEOs, sometimes your IT people, your financial people, some of your marketing people, that in the parent company, the new company that's taking over, they already have people in those roles. So basically you have two people doing the exact same job. So maybe there's like, maybe they look at, so, oh, we'll make you like a junior marketing assistant or something like that. But generally you don't want to duplicate roles when you're being bought out by a larger company. This is no insider information, by the way. I have no insight on this at all. This is just my conjecture. If you're laying off over half of your team, which they have, again, if that, they would have to be over 144 employees for this to be less than 50%. If you're laying off that many people, I have to think that there's going to be some desire to fill those other roles. And just this screamed to me acquisition. That's really what this jumped out to me as. And normally when you see these acquisitions, you see a ton of people laid off because jobs are just being duplicated. The timing also is curious. So we know Hitman 3 VR Reloaded did not do well. If you look at the reviews of the Meta Store, it has 405 ratings, is at a 2.7 star rating. Do you know how bad you have to be to get a 2.7 star rating on the Quest Store? That is horrific. And if you look through some of the reviews here, I'm just gonna go to the most recent. I'm always amazed that people will drop a 5-star review and then slam it. There was one I read earlier before we started this. Let's see, 4 stars, doesn't even let me play, say it's an unavailable app. Then why'd you rate it 4 stars? Doesn't make any sense. Here's actually a positive one. Don't let the bad reviews mislead you. This is a 5-star review. I had very low expectations going into the game after reading the countless bad reviews. However, I'm a lifelong fan of the franchise, so I had to see it and judge it for myself. In all honesty, it blew me away with how immersive the franchise can be in the first-person POV. It exceeded all expectations. There are a few hiccups here and there in the development, but as the platform itself evolves, so will the standards with all its games. For now, the little bugs are easily forgivable and nothing that will scare me away. If you're a fan of the franchise, I highly recommend. But then the bad ones start. It's not even downloading. 1 star. This game is so bunched, it's not even downloading. I do not recommend getting scammed. Another 1 star. Make it for the Quest 2, please, because I waited 30 whole bucks, so I can't get a refund because of the dumb Meta Quest policy. I keep forgetting this is a Quest 3 exclusive, because you look at that game, it is not. It doesn't look like something that's taking advantage of everything the Quest 3 has. Another 1 star. The online function not working. Another 1 star. A joke. A big disappointment for Hitman fans who waited long for this release. Next 1 star. Unless this gets a major update soon to improve even a few of the complaints we have, I don't think purchasing games from XR games will happen again for me. A 5-star review. Done pre-ordering games. Pre-ordered and waited months for this. Never again will I prepay for a game. I was so disappointed I haven't even hardly used my VR since this letdown. My last hope for VR is Batman. If it's a POS like Hitman, I will sell this VR and go back to console only. Another 1 star. I can't review this trash because reviews can't use the kind of language that describe this worthless thing. A 5-star review. I'm sorry, 4-star review. This is my favorite one. This is my absolute favorite one that I read. 5 stars. It not that bad. I'm going to try to read this in one breath because there's only like 1 period in this. I get it, the graphics are bad, but that shouldn't ruin the reviews. It may be bad, but what do you expect from a new release with big maps? I don't know what our standards have got to, but it's not that bad. People wonder why they get 40 GPS, it means FPS. Mid-game, maybe it's because of the graphics. Every think that if they boost up the graphics, our FPS go to 20, so I could play to you crybabies. Whew. Besides that, the gameplay is fun, works well for me playing for hours on end. It's addicting, it's a gem. I hope to see more updates in the future. Would love to see what this game becomes. I read that very quickly because it's all one big run-on sentence. There's more bad than good, obviously, to get a 2.7. 3 stars. Hitman 3 Reloaded is an overhated game. The game's mechanics are the light of the game. I would like to say it needs improvement, but the gameplay now is fun. They're cool. Recommend to Hitman fans. A 1-star review. Dog chocolate emoji. Poop emoji. I would say chocolate. It's definitely been abandoned already with no plans to fix the console offline. Another 1-star. Glitchy out game. When I was doing the last guided mission, the wall was just glitch. Also, the game graphics sucks. It looks like I'm playing Hitman 3 on the PS1. It just on and on and on. Hitman 47 is bald head. This is the most non-VR game or VR that I've ever seen. And yeah, it just keeps. I'm not a greedy high expectation human. 4 stars. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. The developers seem like they were starting to pick up a bunch of work. It was like, okay, cool, they're getting a lot of projects, this all seems really interesting. And then Hitman 3 comes out and it bombs. And then at Gamescom they were doing demos of Zombie Army VR, and if you hop on YouTube for more than like, I don't know, 5 minutes. I know Gamertag had a really good video about it. Peter Bender had a really good video about it. At BMF, like a lot of people who were at Gamescom, they got to try that game. Hardly anyone had anything good to say about it. Voodoo in his German and English channel absolutely ripped it. Just basically said that it wasn't good, bad VR interactions, all that. And everyone was saying that the people doing the demo told them that that was going to be as close to the final version of the game as possible. So you just released Hitman 3 VR Reloaded a month ago. That bombed basically. The word of mouth around Zombie Army VR, which is supposed to be your next game until Starship Troopers, we'll get to that in a minute, that's not looking good because pretty much you already just got a whole bunch of negative coverage from the people who played the demo, and that's a month or so ahead of release, so that's a little rough. And then you release Starship Troopers. I'm going to read through some of the press release here. XR Games joins forces with Sony Pictures VR to announce Starship Troopers Continuum for MetaQuest 2 and 3 and PlayStation VR 2. It'll release on Quest 2 and 3 on October 17th. That is about 2 weeks from today. And at the end of the month, Halloween Day on PlayStation VR 2. With Casper Van Dien reprising this role as the legendary Johnny Rico, Starship Troopers Continuum is set 25 years after the Battle of Klendatu. I think I said that right. The war between the Federation and the Arachnid is deadlocked, but the planet Genesis 4 holds a secret that threatens to tip the balance of the war, the Continuum. Let's watch the trailer real quick because the trailer is going to inform some of the reaction to this game. So let's watch the trailer.
But the most deadly war in Earth's history.
It looks very Bulletstormish.
We need to break the deadlock. So listen up, troopers.
Captured in engine.
We're gonna draw a line.
I feel like we need Jake Busey back. Epic VR action! The first and only Starship Troopers VR game. I felt like they threw it in that only because people were comparing like Guardians Frontline to this.
Pre-order now.
Well, no more pre-order now. Okay, so people came to like this, for instance. This still and said, oh no, life bars above the bugs, which that HUD stuff really doesn't bother me. I'm not an emergent freak like a lot of people are. But basically they were looking at what limited gameplay they got and going off the fact that the Hitman 3 VR Reloaded trailer, the first one that we saw, just followed Agent 47 behind his bald head until he opened the door to some really, really not good looking graphics. So they're taking what little bits they can get now and looked at this and said, oh no, this doesn't look good either. If you go on any like Discords or Reddits or Facebook groups or anything, go through X and look through the reaction there, everyone said the same thing. Oh no, it's XR Games. There's already been a loss of brand equity with that developer because of how bad Hitman 3 was a misfire and because of the negative press going around Zombie Army. If you're a studio, you can probably, depending on like your financial status, your investors or whatever, you can probably get away with like one miss if you put 3 in a row. So Hitman, we know basically is a flop. God forbid, let's say Starship Troopers flops and then Zombie Army flops next month. I think they're toast. I think they're toast, and that's scary. The version that's going to release first of Starship Troopers is going to be the worst looking version of the game. Like imagine if, let's say Mortal Kombat, when that whole mess happened with the Switch version of that, let's just say the Switch version of that came out first. And then what's the reception to that game look like versus they put out all the better looking versions first. People were like, oh, graphically looks fine, the story's great, yada, yada, yada. And then they could crap all over the Switch version later. Kind of worried about this game, honestly. Kind of worried about this game, kind of worried about the studio. Of course, and I say this every single time we go through this, which is, I feel like I've said it almost a dozen times this year already. Heart goes out to all the people who are being made redundant, they're losing their jobs. It's been a horrible year for the game industry. It really has, and I hope that they find something soon and land on their feet. But yeah, this sucks, and this is less than 2 weeks or so after we found out that nDreams was also going through layoffs when they're about to release 2 games too. The timing on that is super curious. You're about to drop some major content. You're about to put out 2 projects you're working on for ostensibly at least a year, maybe 2 years, and they say, okay, we're about to be able to finish line. Yeah, pop the champagne. By the way, you're all being let go. The timing on that is super curious, which makes me think this is an investor problem. This is an acquisition problem. This is something that's being made. I don't think this is specifically tied to recent fortune. This probably feels like something that's been planned for a while. There's a lot more writing on Starship Troopers and on Zombie Army in terms of like the fate of XR Games as a studio and whether or not they're going to be able to scale back up or whether or not they're going to be resigned to just doing like port work like they've been doing for stuff like Jurassic World and Jurassic, just like they've been doing for Jurassic World and for Shadow Point, which is good work. You can find it, just ask VR Monkey. But Do I think they're ever going to be the size that they were before these redundancies happened? Probably not, because you have that many people on staff and then you go through that bad of a flop with probably 2 more on the way. I can't see them scaling back up like that. I'm really curious how this is received specifically by the Quest audience, because at this point the Quest audience skews younger. And Starship Troopers is an IP that means something to myself, Croy, Mock, Oni, Amelia, people who are in their 30s and 40s who are old enough to remember the original movie. Let's ignore the direct-to-DVD sequels. One of my favorites look at that time. Yeah, Ronan, like people in their 30s and 40s. Is that enough interest generated to carry the sales of this, especially when a lot of the people who would just gobble this up are going to be on the PCVR market? I don't know if the Quest audience is going to like gravitate towards this, because it's not a brand that's recognized in the same way that like Stranger Things was earlier this year, for instance, or Ghostbusters, because it had a new movie that came out this year. Starship Troopers hasn't been like relevant in pop culture outside of people our age for decades probably. So really curious how this goes over. And by the way, I don't think this is the only developer that has a lot riding on their next game. I think a lot is riding on how good Batman is, not necessarily for those studio, but for like VR gaming in general. I think a lot is riding on Batman, Behemoth, Metro, and Alien. If let's just say half of those games are absolute duds, I'm worried about how many more big IPs that we see coming into VR, because there's been a lot more than you guys think of, and there's been a lot more like indie games that came into VR. I had a list of like 30 at one point that have been ported over to VR, and the results have been hit and miss. But I think that stuff starts to slow down if games like this just continue to not do well.